It's Thursday, September 8th, 2022, and this is FRCMedia News. I'm Keith Tebow. This week, we look at how Fall River voted in this week's state primary. The city of Fall River is looking to revamp its website, and the United Way is hosting a community baby shower later this month. All this and more coming up. Under rainy conditions, Bay State voters went to the polls Tuesday in the state primary. It was a low turnout of voters in Fall River, with little to no hiccups across its 27 voting precincts.
It was a relatively quiet turnout. We had about 5,400 people who decided to vote by mail. In terms of election day turnout, I want to say probably it was kind of in the mid-teens for today for a turnout. Everything was a relatively quiet day. Wish the turnout was a bit higher. My initial prediction was going to be comparable to 2020 to be about 25-26%, but it was a relatively smooth day with very little problems.
Here's a look now at how Fall River voted in the state primary. As you look at the results, the candidates in gold earned the nomination and will be on the ballot in November. In the Democratic primary, Attorney General Maura Healey earned the nomination to be the state's next governor. For Lieutenant Governor, Salem Mayor Kim Driscoll defeated two challengers, Senator Eric Lesser and State Representative Tammy Govea. Even though Fall River preferred Shannon Liss Reardon for Attorney General, former Boston City Councilor Andrea Campbell won the nomination. Longtime Secretary of State William Galvin is looking to earn his 8th term in office, defeating Tanisha Sullivan. State Treasurer Deborah Goldberg ran unopposed, while State Senator Diana DeZoglio earned the nomination over Chris Dempsey for Auditor. A number of regional and local Democrats ran unopposed in the primary, including Congressman Jake Auchincloss, Governor's Councilor Joseph Ferreira, State Senator Michael Rodrigues, and State Representatives Carol Fiola, Alan Sylvia, and Paul Schmid. With no Republican challenger in November, District Attorney Tom Quinn will be reelected after winning his primary over challenger Shannon McMahon. In Fall River, Attorney Nicholas Bernier was favored in the race for sheriff. However, Attleboro Mayor Paul Heroux won the nomination, and County Commissioner John Saunders ran unopposed. In the Republican primary, the contested races were at the top of the ticket as Jeff Deal and Leah Cole Allen advanced and will be the nominees in the race for governor and lieutenant governor. Attorney General candidate James McMahon, Secretary of State candidate Rayla Campbell, and Auditor candidate Anthony Amore ran unopposed. Many of the local races either had no Republicans running or candidates ran unopposed. There are no Republicans running for Congress or Governor's Council. Russell Protentis will challenge Senator Michael Rodrigues in November, and Evan Gendro will get his second chance to unseat 8th Bristol State Representative Paul Schmid. Bristol County Sheriff Tom Hodgson will seek another term in office in November, and there were no Republicans running for County Commissioner. All winners will now advance to the state election, which will be held on Tuesday, November 8th. Please stay with FRCmedia over the next 2 months as we will speak with as many candidates as possible to get you prepared to vote. 3 judges in the U.S. First Circuit Court of Appeals heard oral arguments today in the appeal of the federal convictions of fraud and corruption of former Fall River Mayor Jaziel Correa. Correa is currently serving a 6-year sentence in federal prison in New Hampshire for defrauding investors of his Snow Owl app company and seeking payments from potential recreational marijuana vendors in exchange for a favorable recommendation from state regulators. He was convicted during a federal trial in May of last year. Attorney Stephen Sabra of Sabra Law says the format of the oral arguments before judges Sandra Lynch, Bruce Sala, and Jeffrey Howard is limited to each side having only 15 minutes to prove their cases.
15 minutes for each side is really not very much, but those are the rules. So if you're arguing the case as an appellate attorney, you basically, in general, maybe get a few sentences out, and usually it's questions because the judges already have all the briefs. They have your brief, they have the prosecution's brief. So they start with questions, and generally they take turns, although sometimes one judge might ask more than others. It would be a panel of 3 judges that would ask the questions, and it's kind of rapid fire from there. So you have to know your case, you have to know the case law, and pretty hard to predict what the questions are going to be. So you've just got to be fairly quick on your feet.
Attorney Saber says much of what the judges will consider lies in the pages of briefs submitted by Correa's attorneys and prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office.
The briefs are they 20 pages long plus exhibits or longer? So, but there might be conflicts, there might be new cases that the judges are curious about. So you can persuade a judge in an oral argument. More so, I suppose, I would say in the trial court level than in the appellate level. Mostly, it's going to be what's in the briefs and what the case law requires. But sometimes when the judges are looking at the briefs, there'll be certain questions that they don't feel have been answered to their satisfaction, or they might sort of propose hypotheticals, which you see a lot from the U.S. Supreme Court. So
in his court briefings, Correa's attorneys are arguing that, among other things, there should have been separate trials for both the snow owl and marijuana cases, and that U.S. District Court Judge Douglas Woodlock provided conflicting instructions prior to jury deliberations. Attorney Saber says during the oral arguments, it's rare for the judges to tip their hands on how they may rule.
Even if you're attending one of these hearings, you can't really tell which way the case is going to go from the questions or the comments from the judges. Sometimes the questions you might feel that it's leaning a certain way, but the decision can go a different way. So it's very hard to tell, even if you were present for this, exactly what the ruling was going to be, unless the questions are clear from at least two of the judges that they're really going in a certain direction. And the issues are going to be the same as really what's been argued all along.
Even though today's court appearance was brief, when a judgment will be rendered is entirely within the purview of the three judges.
The timeline is generally going to be 3 or 4 months. Might be a little shorter, might be a little longer, but that would be I think a fair estimate. They're going to convene and talk about the case, and then it's kind of like we know about the U.S. Supreme Court, right? They talk about the case. Someone's assigned to do a draft opinion. The draft opinion circulated around. That's supposed to be all confidential, but as we saw with this U.S. Supreme Court, maybe it wasn't in one of a very famous case recently. But and then they come up with their final written opinion.
Fall River City Council President Pamela Liberty LeBeau will be arraigned on Tuesday on charges she sent harassing phone and text messages to the wife of a former lover and intimidating witnesses in the case. The charges were filed by Westport Police, who investigated a complaint by a couple who had been receiving harassing and annoying calls and text messages. Police were able to trace the messages to La Liberty LeBeau's phone. Attorney Steve Saber of Saber Law says the harassment charges are misdemeanors, while the witness intimidation charges are felonies.
Witness intimidation, that statute it's a felony because it provides for a state prison term. So the maximum sentence for a conviction for that charge is 10 years in state prison, but there's an alternative of 2.5 years in the House of Correction, and there's fines as well. So the important thing to know about that is that although it's a felony, it still can be handled in the district court. We know that the difference between misdemeanor and felony is misdemeanor means that the maximum sentence is a House of Correction sentence as opposed to state prison. If a charge has a state prison possible sentence, then it's a felony.
Attorney Saber says only Ms. La Liberty LeBeau can decide whether her alleged actions merit her stepping down as city council president or resigning from the council itself.
The issue that some people are kind of holding on to or pointing to is the fact that according to what I read, it seems like she's admitted to all the things that were in the police report. According to the police officer that wrote the report, he said there was admissions and in confession about a lot of these a lot of the things that were alleged. So that ends up being a little bit of a problem, because in order to, if the case is prosecuted, the prosecutor can use those admissions obviously against the defendant. So what she decides to do is going to depend on really, I think whether she feels she can continue to serve with these things pending.
On whether Ms. Liberty LeBeau can be removed from office, the Fall River City Charter only specifies that an elected official would be automatically removed if he or she is convicted of a felony. That is currently not the case thus far for Ms. Liberty LeBeau. Mayor Paul Coogan says he has not spoken with the councilor since she has been charged. He does say that thus far this year, he has seen greater cooperation in general between his office and the council.
I will acknowledge that things are definitely going a much smoother right now. It seems like the council is working together as a group and moving things along. We do talk to them regularly. We meet with them. We keep them informed, and we do the best we can to make sure we don't spring too many surprises on them. That's not the way you build a team. The council seems like they have some agendas of their own, which we support them on, whether it's their county ARPA money or some things they want to see done in the city. So we work together to come up with a plan. It's obviously a time in Fall River where there is a little bit of money floating around that allows you to do things. So it makes things work a lot smoother, whether it's streets, sidewalks, parks. So we can all pull together to make Fall River more livable. And again, their cooperation is key to keeping things going in the right direction.
The mayor goes on to say that a good portion of the credit goes to members of his administration.
When you look at the people we brought in, whether it's finance, whether it's the ARPA coordinator, whether it's Seth Aiken, city administrator, these people are all learning the job and learning the way Fall River, does things, and trying to make improvements where needed and following the traditional path at other times. But that is how you build a team. You allow people to talk to each other. You allow people to have ideas and to share them. And that's what we're doing. And again, I think things are moving much smoother. I think having a city administrator definitely is a big help. And we're going to work our way through it. And as people routinely say to me, things in Fall River look pretty good right now. There's a lot going on between streets, sidewalks, parks, our schools. So we're going to keep pushing forward and try to get things done.
The city of Fall River will be updating its website and is seeking help from the community to design a new city logo. Mayor Paul Coogan says there is a need to modernize the website to make it more accessible while providing residents with pertinent information.
It's going to take a few months. These are big projects. We hired a national company that's done websites across the United States, from Florida to California. They're very, very professional. We had a bidding process, and we settled on a company that we like. We'd like to do something a little more splashy with the logo for the city. So we're working on putting together a contest with what I call a substantial cash prize if we use your design for the city logo, or something that we can use on the website that's catchy so people will remember us. And we're going to definitely beef it up with a better calendar, easier access to bill pay, easier access to forms and permits online, so that it's easy for the residents to go online. If nothing we learned from this pandemic, it is that people have to be able to access the city and still do it from their home.
The deadline to submit entries for a new city logo must be received by September 30th. An entry form and complete submission guidelines can be found on the city's website. Mayor Coogan has formed an advisory committee to judge the logo entries and provide feedback on the site's new design. Here's an update now on the latest COVID-19 numbers in Fall River based on a report released last Thursday, September 1st. 123 new cases of the virus were reported last week, down from 113 the week prior. Fall River now has 32,405 total cases since the onset of the pandemic. Vaccinations remain flat, 68% of all city residents having received at least one dose of the vaccine, 60% considered fully vaccinated, and only 27% of all city residents have received the COVID vaccine booster. We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the MassHire Fall River Career Center. Construction Craft Laborer Instructor. BMC Durfee High School Career and Technical Education, located at 460 Ellsbury Street, is looking for a full-time construction craft laborer instructor to teach each student develop competence in the skills and knowledge required by the various construction trades to assist the journeyman in its field. Job number 175-35771. Team member. Taco Bell, located at 150 Plymouth Avenue, seeks a part-time team member responsible for taking orders, preparing food, assisting in resolving any service or food issues, and maintain a clean work and dining environment. Job number 175-85512. One-on-one paraprofessional. Tansy Elementary School, located at 711 Ray Street, is seeking a full-time one-on-one paraprofessional to provide support to the instructional program with specific responsibility for assisting in the supervision, care, and instruction of students with special needs in the general education setting. Job number 175-53177. Hairstylist. Supercuts, located at South Coast Marketplace, is looking for a full-time hairstylist. For more information, call 508-617-5057. Blount Fine Foods, located at 630 Current Road, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Second shift packaging associate, job number 175-87907. Third shift blender operator, job number 175-87909. For more information about these or other positions, visit MassHire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the MassHire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Recover Fall River last week held a ceremony marking National Overdose Awareness Day. The event, intended by dozens impacted by the loss of loved ones to substance abuse, is held annually to celebrate the lives of those lost and remove the stigma of the disease that is substance abuse. One of the speakers of the event was Brandy Corso, who remembered Corey J. Morris, the father of her 8-year-old son.
Corey's childhood was filled with playing sports, activities, and a lot of family. Unfortunately, at a young age of 12, he started drinking, and at 14, pot smoking. At this time, Corey's parents got divorced, and from then on, he had trust issues with women. Still holding his own, his drug use started around 18 or 19 when he was working for a stamped concrete company. And one of the guys nonchalantly said, "Try this, it will make you feel a lot better." And Corey did. From then on, it became the struggle of addiction. When I met him, he was still struggling, and watching someone you love and care about struggle is not the easiest thing to take or take a back seat and watch. Time and time again, Corey would pull himself out of the devil's grasp, but yet would fall over again. But he always tried and persisted. At points of Corey's sobriety, he went to detoxes to speak and try to help others get out and cheer many people on. He found an amazing support group and friends that helped him.
Underserved, expectant mothers in the region will be able to take part in a community baby shower hosted this month by the United Way of Greater Fall River.
We wanted to make sure that we were targeting families who either don't have the resources to have a baby shower, maybe a baby shower isn't something they do culturally in their families, or just, just can't pull it together. And we wanted to be able to provide supplies for the baby, postpartum supplies for the mom, access to resources that are available for new families in the community, some mental health resources, because having a baby is a really big upheaval in your life, which I think anyone who's had a baby knows that. So we wanted to target families that really could use the support the most. So Fall River WIC was one of the main sources. They pulled a list of who was pregnant and going to have a baby before the end of the year, and we email blasted and text messaged those parents to invite them to come. And we reached out to community partners who have programs for infants or pregnant folks, and asked them to invite, whoever they thought might need it.
The United Way is working with Fall River WIC, the Basics South Coast, and Tufts Health Plan in organizing the event. The baby shower, which is by invitation only, will be held on Saturday, September 17th at the Spencer Borden School and will feature a wide arrangement of staples and larger items for expectant mothers.
The FIA, Females in Action workout group from the city, made us a whole slew of diaper cakes as our table decorations, because we want this to be a real baby shower. We've got balloons, we've got diaper cakes, we have, tablecloths, the whole works. So they donated those for us for decor. Some of the stuff you see here came from Amazon, that they gave like this really awesome baby brezza for formula feeding parents. We have, what am I sitting next to? A convertible car seat from First Congregational Church's mission group.
Ms. Rogers says the community baby shower will host up to 100 mothers and likely will become an annual event. She says there's still time for members of the community to donate.
If I'm honest, the easiest way for folks to give is to make a monetary donation, so we can sort of shop for the items we need that didn't sort of end up at one of those drives that are finishing up in the next week or so. We have a text code, so they can text baby shower 22 to 44321, and that will go right to the landing page to support the shower. It's kind of broken down so you can see sort of what that dollar amount purchases, which is kind of nice. And those funds will be designated specifically for the baby shower. And like I said, if any funds come in after the 17th or after we're done shopping, it'll just get rolled into next year's event, so it's not going to waste or anywhere else.
We will wrap up this edition of FRC Media News right after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Midnight. Midnight's a little squirmy. Midnight is a domestic short-haired, approximately 5 years old. Midnight would do good with any kids. Very affectionate. Doesn't mind being held for the most part, but sometimes does get a little squirmy. Midnight was a owner surrender, but very affectionate, loves attention. As you can see, you can pet, you can play with the tail. Midnight is just fine with that, and it's just going to plop down and play, maybe. Very laid back as well, good temperament. Midnight likes to chill as well as play, so any type of family would be great for him. So if you'd like to come down and meet Midnight, just call Forever Pause 508-677-9514. We're at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River.
Today we have Oscar. He is a Portuguese Podengo mix. There are 3 different kinds of Podengos that you'll see typically. You'll have like the small ones. Come here. That look like a little bit bigger than a miniature pincher. You'll have the full-size ones, and then you'll have like the medium-sized guys. They all range from short hair to medium to long hair. So we have him, Oscar here is a wire hair Podengo. He is a puppy. He's about 8 months old. He's very, very nervous at first. He's doing a really good job of coming out of his shell. He was abandoned, and when he was brought in, he was extremely emaciated. We're making sure that he's putting on weight every week, getting him healthy so that way he can go up for adoption. Anybody interested in this type of dog really should have a fenced-in yard. He wants to sit with you. He's very nosy. He wants to know what you're doing. He's very, very cuddly once he's comfortable. But anybody that does come to meet him, just understand it's going to take him a little bit to warm up. So this is Oscar. He's an 8-month-old Portuguese Podengo. He'll be up for adoption shortly. If you're interested in meeting him, please go to our website, www.foreverpaws.com, click Adopt, download the application and email it in to us, and once approved, we will give you a call and set up a meet for him.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. Please visit our website at frmedia.org for all the latest news and information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.